So till now, what all things we have covered? We started off with socio-religious reform movements, and I told you there are two types: reformist and revivalist, right? And then we have discussed about Brahmo Samaj as reformist movement, and from Muslim side, Aligarh movement we have covered. And we started off with revivalist movement, and we have discussed about Wahhabi movement from Muslim side. And in this video, we need to cover the Arya Samaj movement, okay? And then we will also talk about Swami Vivekananda. So in between we have covered other movements like Young Bengal movement, Theosophical Society, Satyashodhak Samaj, Prarthana Samaj, etc. Okay, so let me start off with Arya Samaj now. So basically I want to discuss more about Swami Dayanand Saraswati, okay? And as part of the discussion we will discuss about Arya Samaj, okay? So Swami Dayanand Saraswati, okay? Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Original name was Mool Shankar Tiwari, okay? Mool Shankar Tiwari. And he is the person who started Arya Samaj movement, okay? So he started Arya Samaj movement. He is originally from Gujarat, plays in Jankara, okay? So he was originally from Gujarat. He was born in 1824. Now, in 1875, he started Arya Samaj in Bombay, okay? In 1877, he shifted the headquarters of Arya Samaj to Lahore. So Arya Samaj was started in Bombay in 1875. 1877, headquarters of Arya Samaj was shifted to Lahore. Now, why it is called as a revivalist movement? Basically, his slogan itself is go back to Vedas, okay? So his slogan was go back to Vedas, go back to Vedas, and that's the reason why we will come to know about the ideologies and operations and strategies and everything, but this is a slogan and we call this as revivalist movement, okay? So one of the most important revivalist movement is Arya Samaj movement, go back to Vedas. So this is a parallel movement to Wahhabi movement. Wahhabi movement is also having the same ideology, go back to Islamic traditions, okay? Like in 7th century Arab, when Islam was in its pure form. Similarly, here go back to Vedas. So he basically wanted to revive Hindu society as in the case of Vedic period, okay? That means 1500 to 600 BC, okay? So he want to revive Hindu society like this period, okay? Like when we discussed about Wahhabi movement, they want to revive Islamic tradition like in the case of 7th century Arab, because in 7th century Arab, Islam was in its pure form. Here, 1500 to 600 BC, Hinduism was in its pure form. Now, he only approved Vedas, Rigveda, Samaveda, Yajurveda and Atharva Veda, okay, and Upanishads. So he only approved Vedas and Upanishads, and he rejected all other Hindu literatures like Puranas, okay? He rejected everything else except Vedas and Upanishads. Now, unlike Rajaram Mohan Roy, he was not ready to accept other culture, okay? He was not ready to accept others' culture like Christianity, Islam or anything. So when we discussed about Rajaram Mohan Roy, I told you he was considered as a reformist because he was ready to accept other culture. At the same time, he was very proud in his own culture. So whatever is good from other culture, he was ready to accept it. Like Christianity, if you see, he was ready to accept humanity. And from Islam, equality. And from Hinduism, spirituality. Okay, these are the good elements that he was ready to accept from other religion. So here Swami Dayanand Saraswati rejected others and other culture. Basically, for him, his idea is true knowledge and solution for all the problems is already there in Vedas and Upanishads, okay? So it was actually very orthodox and revivalist movement, orthodox and revivalist movement among Hindus, okay? Now, the other important points which I need to discuss is, he rejected certain practices among Hinduism like idol worship, okay? So idol worship not promoted, it's actually rejected. See, the point is, you may face confusion when it comes to this point because you're talking about Hindu revivalist movement and the moment you see that, consider the following with respect to Arya Samaj. Which among the following is true? Okay, so rejected idol worship. Okay, it is possible when it comes to Brahmo Samaj, because that was a modern movement or reform movement. Here, you may not think that they rejected idol worship, and the fact is they rejected idol worship. So in that way, both Brahmo Samaj and Arya Samaj have certain similarity, right? This is a similarity. So both rejected idol worship. And you cannot see any idols in Arya Samaj temples, which is across India. So they also advocated belief in one God and formless God. Okay, one God and formless God. So this is a very important point. You should not have any confusion. So Arya Samaj, although they are revivalist, although they are orthodox, still they promoted one God and formless God concept, and they rejected idol worship, very much like Brahmo Samaj. These are the two key points when we discussed about Brahmo Samaj. You can see there also. They set up various Arya Samaj mandirs across India. Nowhere you can see any idols or idol worship. Okay, the other point is they criticized rituals of Hindu society. Okay, so criticized rituals of Hindu society, not just one, many rituals they criticized. Okay. Then next point you can write is they tried to simplify Hindu religion and its practices. Simplify religious practices. Okay. So they tried to simplify religious practices like simple marriage in temples, and they in fact promoted intercaste marriage. See, these are 2 points which you may face a lot of confusion. One is they stopped or they rejected idol worship. Why confusion? Because this is actually a part of reformist movement. Then they promoted one God and formless God. That is also part of reformist movement, but it is also practiced by Arya Samajis, or it was also promoted by Swami Dayanand Saraswati also. Okay. Now this is the most important point. They promoted intercaste marriage. Intercaste marriage. And then why it is called as revivalist movement? We'll come to that. Okay. See, when we discussed about Wahhabi movement, there also I told you 2 parts, right? One is reform in Islamic tradition. Second is establishing Islamic rule. And I told you the second was the most problematic one. The first one, nobody cared for that. Okay, you reform your religion, who cared for that? Same as the case here also. There are a lot of good things. There are a lot of reforms, like promoting intercaste marriage was one of the great thing, right, at that time especially. But there are certain problems. We'll come to that problem, which is related to, Shuddhi movement, cow protection movement, etc. That created a lot of troubles. Okay, we'll come to that. So they promoted intercaste marriage. So you should not have any confusion if you get multiple choice question as statements like this. Idol worship they rejected. They promoted single God and formless God, and they promoted intercaste marriage. Okay, and they promoted simple religious practices. So these are actually part of reforms. So when I say it is a revivalist movement, you should not have any confusion. So these are the good sides of Arya Samaj movement. Okay, now why they promote intercaste marriage? That is something different, because if you remember, in 1772 Universal Marriage Act was passed by Lord Northbrook. If you remember, we have discussed this, right? So under Universal Marriage Act, even the state is also promoting intercaste marriage, and in case of intercaste marriage, state started giving protection to those married couples, right? So on one side, state promoting intercaste marriage, at the same time they also promoting intercaste marriage. The point is, look, we know what to do from our side. Everything is there in Vedas and Upanishads. You don't want to bring reforms. We know how to reform our society. That's the idea of Arya Samaj or Dayanand Saraswati. So that's why he promoted intercaste marriage. On one side, state is promoting, and on the other side, they are also promoting. Now there is no other way. Actually, you cannot oppose also. If you oppose, you will be in jail. Okay, so that may also be one reason, but whatever it is, we'll write it in a positive way. So these are the good things. Now let's look at some controversies related to Arya Samaj movement. Okay, so the first and the most important is cow protection movement. Now this is going to create issue at any point of time in history, even now also, at that time also, right? See, they started to protect cow, but slowly it started communalizing. So they started something called as Gau Rakshak Samiti. Okay, Gau Raksha Samiti. So it started as for the protection of cows, but slowly started presuming as anti-Muslim and anti-Christian organization. So it created a lot of communal rifts and problems across North India. Even now also that kind of problems are there, okay, related to cow. Now the Gandhi stand in this case is more important because there is a famous line. He said that, I don't think there is any such need. Rather, I request my Muslim and Christian brothers not to slaughter cow. And even if they do so, I cannot kill them because human beings is more important for me than the animals. Okay, that's a version of Gandhi, but now people started killing others for protecting cow and for associated reasons. Okay, so there is no point in discussing too much about it. Everybody know it, right? Now second is Shuddhi movement. Second controversy was Shuddhi movement. So when we discussed about Wahhabi movement also, we discussed about the controversy establishing Islamic rules. So here these two are the controversy: cow protection movement and Shuddhi movement. So the actual meaning is